All right, to Ferguson, Missouri, where you know the drill. We're waiting, watching the FBI already warning a decision on the Michael Brown shooting will likely lead to violence. That's the consensus. It's Charles Payne, who says it's time for everyone to calm down. But if this officer gets off, you've heard the feeling that riots start up. What do you think?
Well, I mean, listen, it's historic. We've seen this for many decades now, and it's also expected. And then you can imagine, too, with the cameras, the world watching, a chance for you to vent your anger and your frustration. And then, of course, being egged on by professional troublemakers who are saying it's the right thing to do. This is not the time for you to be calm. This is not the time for you to express yourself in an orderly fashion. This is the time for you to go off, as Spike Lee once hinted to President Obama. So you've got all these dynamics at work there. And you know, you would hope that that at some point this galvanizes that community, because after today, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 6 months from now, those same troublemakers will move on to the next hotspot, and Ferguson will be a footnote in history unless the people who live there find ways to make this better.
You have always advocated almost the Martin Luther King approach: cooler, calmer heads prevail. Easier said than done. But if you had to go to Ferguson today, what would you say?
In my own personal life, I grew up as a kid who never knew really a lot of violence, living on Army bases, to a kid who moved to Harlem and got beat up every day. And I was a very violent young man, not a troublemaker, but if you push me, I'm going to push you back immediately and harder. And that's something I've actually tried to work out of my system over years. So I understand the anger that's pent up in these kids, particularly when they feel like there's hopelessness. Listen, the people in Ferguson want to be accepted by America or feel accepted by America. And it's others who are telling them that you will never be, and that this is just yet another example of them hating you. And somehow we've got to drive a wall between that kind of the people who've been articulating that message over and over again, to the detriment of the people who are listening to it.
Does it bother you the way this jury cuts on racial lines? 9 whites, 3 blacks. You need nine votes to go ahead and make a push for punishment. And what if it's those 9 whites who vote that way?
It'll make it easier to fan the flames of anger if that's how it breaks down. I would hope it wouldn't break down that way. We'll see. We have to have faith in our justice system. It doesn't mean it's 100%.
But are you saying that a lot of African Americans do not?
Of course not.
Really?
A lot of them don't. Yeah, a lot of them feel like they've come out on the short end of the stick many times. But having said that, you look at our history in this country, I don't think we all ever just stop for a moment to think about how far we have come. We're sort of focused on how far there is to go. It's like running a 26-mile marathon and being worried about the last 3 miles, instead of saying, you know what, we've covered a lot of distance in a relatively short period of time. Hostilities that existed in Europe existed over thousands of years, not over less than 200. So I feel like we're in the right place as a nation. I think a lot of this goes away if the economy is better. A lot of this goes away when more people feel like there are more opportunities. A lot of this goes away if there weren't professional troublemakers always stirring the pot. But there is.
Who are you referring to? Al Sharpton?
Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. I got to tell you, it's hurtful to say. I remember being in church not too long ago, a year ago, and Al Sharpton visits a lot of churches in New York, particularly Harlem. And that day he visited my church, the church I go to periodically, and he called out black conservatives as being cowards. I was so offended that I'm scared or black conservatives are scared, when it's the exact opposite. I feel like I'm a warrior. I get up every single morning before the sun gets up, and I go out there and I work hard. You can't tell a black person like that they're a coward. But that's the message. That's the message that's held us back a lot more than an occasional rogue policeman or rogue wannabe policeman.
Wow, that's well put. Remind me not to argue with Charles Payne. We shall see.
Right,
by the way,
thanks.
Don't miss Charles' Fine Show on our sister network. And if you're not sure where to find Fox Business Network in your area, you can log on to foxbusiness.com channel finder. Charles and I will always volunteer to come to your cable operator's home if you're still having problems in the meantime.